Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Obviously, we have nobody from the public. Thank you, everyone, for being here, especially in these trying times as we move back to the new sense of normalcy. And our turnout is amazing, of course. This makes it a lot easier. I know it's hard for people to get out, and we'll talk about that later, of what we're gonna do for the future. So first thing is the approval of the April meeting minutes. Is there any changes, additions, or deletions we need to do with the minutes that anybody saw?
Motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Beth.
Second.
All right, the second. All in favor? All right, great. No nays, I take it, and we'll approve those. Keith is up first. Keith, are you on?
I didn't see Keith log
No.
in, but
No,
I can
Keith-
go over accounting.
Keith sent a message yesterday saying that he has a meeting at the hospital that he must attend, so he's not going to be here today.
Okay. Craig, do you have his treasurer's report? Okay.
Yeah, let's go over the accounting real quick. So I shared my screen. If you can see it, you can see that our checking account balance is looking pretty healthy, and I'm going to go over the accounting of how it got that way and what it's going to look like in the future when we get to my report. And we still have $172,000 in our money market, and our checking has a balance right now of $327,000. And that is that.
Any questions of Craig? And we'll go into more detail as we move forward of some what the income's been related to the COVID related activities. So he's going to go over in a little bit. So I don't have much to report. Craig's going to report on and everything that we're talking about. Craig and I talked about offline about what we're going to do meetings in the future, but we'll talk about that a little later. Virtual meetings, we seem to have a really, really good turnout. Doesn't mean I discount the fact that in-person meetings aren't important. It's just, I know at a lot of times, it's a lot easier to meet this way than it is to be able to move around. So we'll look at that, the future, how we're going to actually move forward as well. So Craig, I'll turn it over to you for your report.
Okay, good. Thank you. And just to remind everybody, some shortcuts if you're not aware. If you're in Zoom and you want to mute and unmute your mic, you don't need to find a button necessarily. You can hit Alt-A or Command-A if you're on a Mac, and it turns your mic on and off very quickly. Just try to stay muted when you're not talking. And when you are talking, try to have your video on, and then so everyone can see your facial expressions as well, and that'd be great. So my report is going to be a little bit lengthy, but I'm going to try to get through it. And I'm going to pause after each bullet point so that if anybody wants to have a discussion or unmute their mic or talk about the specific point or make a comment, and there'll be time for that. The first thing I just want to talk about is OEMS. So OEMS has been so supportive during all of this COVID. They've been having weekly meetings with the EMS Council, and many of you have been attending that. The collaboration is just off the charts wonderful. And we'll go over this in the budget, but during one of the, they also meet with the directors as well, separately from the Friday meetings that they're having with the councils. And Adam made it an announcement at our meeting last week or the week before that they plan on doing a 5% increase into our contract. So we incorporated that into the budget for next year, and that's very generous. And in times like this, that's pretty amazing. They've been very open to our request about CE, Zoom CE. It looks like we're going to be able to have that in July. And as everybody knows, the symposium is canceled, but we're still moving forward. It's not canceled, it's postponed. It's postponed to another year. As Gary Brown said, the 41st symposium will be held, just not in 2020. Anybody have any comments or discussion about that?
Yeah. Just the thing is, as we, did bring forward with that increase, the that is that as we're, bring that to all of the regional councils. 3% of that goes directly to salary increases for the staff, and the additional 2% goes towards the expenses that had been incurred, of course, over the COVID period, but also for the long-standing period as moving forward for the council. So it's a ongoing 5% increase. It's not a one-time, as was questioned upon us when we initially had put that forward to everybody. So just recognizing all the hard work that everybody does and everything through the council, we wanted to make sure that we were able to kind of recognize that and give that increase to your staff, and also for the continuing work and added expenses that are occurred on a regular basis. So thank you all to your staff and everybody, and to all the hard work that you all do.
Well, thanks, Chris, for that clarification. I wasn't aware that 3% was for raises. We actually made those flat this year, so we may have to alter that when we vote on the budget. Or they have to go towards salary increases. Is that okay?
The 3% has to go to increase. 2% goes to the overall
General fund.
regular general.
Got it. Okay. All right, good. Yeah, I wasn't aware of those stipulations. That's good to know. So we can talk about that when we get to our budget.
And the state support is, especially in the financial times that we're in, is pretty amazing. So we do appreciate that very, very much.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how we all come together, and the collaboration is seamless when there's something really going on, isn't it? That's good. I mean, there's something really going on every day, but sometimes we get tied up with silliness. So. The RSAF virtual meeting is this Friday, so I'll be attending that. Contact me if you feel like you need to discuss anything with me concerning that meeting. We haven't scheduled the stroke meeting yet because I've been collaborating with Dr. Ramakrishnan. If you remember her, she attended our stroke meeting not that long ago from PIMS. She has agreed to join our virtual meetings as the Get Ahead of Stroke campaign representative. I think she brings a lot to the table as a physician, as a stroke champion. So that's one benefit of having our meetings virtually, that people like Chris and Dr. Ramakrishnan can pop into our meetings very easily without spending a lot of gas money or time. So we plan on continuing virtual meetings through the summer. I want to be conservative about getting together. I don't want to contribute to the next wave of the COVID virus. So we can talk about that further in the future, how we want this to look like, and whether we feel like this is a productive environment to meet, or whether we need to meet in person or do some combination thereof. The council still has a small PPE cache to distribute. So if you're in need of PPE, you can contact us and we will see what we have to meet your needs. That brings us to our contracts we have with the Department of Homeland Security and United Airlines. So if you're not familiar, we signed contracts with both of these entities to do some COVID screening. We initially signed a contract with DHF to be available in case of an Ebola outbreak to do screenings, but then COVID reared its ugly head around January and December, and we quickly transitioned to doing COVID screenings at Dulles Airport full-time, 7 days a week, about 16 hours a day, and that has been going strong. Shortly thereafter, United Airlines contacted us and wanted us to screen their employees coming into work, and we did that for about a month, all the entire month of May. It was a 3-month contract, which they canceled as of June 19th. So I want to show you the accounting for that. So I'm sharing my screen. And none of this is in our budget at this time because this isn't anticipated income. And it fell in between the budget years. So this came in after July 1st, and it's gone before July 1st of the next year. So the executive committee is looking at this more as a windfall. So the amount of money that came in, and then after all the employees' salaries and so forth, the council should clear about $67,000 as of May 31st. So this is an accrual. That means we still have an invoice out I think they have not paid that yet. Have they paid that, Michelle? Did they pay that?
For the United one?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Actually, they did pay that. Yes, that's the one that I just took for the United one. So
Okay,
they did
good.
pay it.
Right. Yep. I missed the email on the confirmation of that coming in, but that's good.
Yep.
So this is the bottom line so far as of May 31st. They'll get one final invoice after June 19th. For June, it'll be about probably about half of their last invoice. Their last invoice was $67,000 or $78,000, right? 67,000, 76,000. But this is the bottom line with that invoice in place. So we've earned about $67,000 on that. So does anybody have any questions about United Airlines before we move on to DHS? Perfect. So let's go to DHS. Share my screen on that one. There's a lot more involved in that contract, so the numbers are a little different. Okay, so the DHS contract, as of May 31st, we brought in about $1.2 million salaries and all our direct expenses towards this, and this includes buying cameras, buying lots of different supplies, office supplies, scrubs, and so forth. All that has come to $584,000, $640,000 total. And so we've cleared $560,000 from DHS. Again, this is not reflected in our budget because I don't know if they're going to continue past the end of this month. And the federal government is very timely in their notifications. Like when we went to full time, they gave us about 12 hours notice. They said, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to go operational. We need you at the airport Monday morning. And then, and that was with 4 people doing 16-hour shifts total, 4 people all day for 16 hours. And then when they decided to switch to screening everybody from Europe as well, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to need 34 people on duty tomorrow. Can you handle that? If not, we can augment your staffing with, but we were able to make that work. And so that's why this number is what it is. And this is thanks to Chuck Kramerick, we hired as our full-time operations manager. So he's the one who's managing this entire operational effort. And he's doing a great job. So if anybody has any questions about this contract expires officially on August 3rd. And I'm not sure when they're going to turn the faucet off and tell us that we're not screening anymore. As you know, all the COVID cases in the region are steadily trending downward every day. I think Northern Virginia has about 30 less patients in the hospital today than they did yesterday. So I'm not sure what this is going to look like, whether it's going to go past June, whether it's going to pick up again, whether they're going to renew us in August to have us on standby. I'm not sure what's happening with that. So, and I'm not sure that the Department of Homeland Security knows either at this point. So that is that. And that's why our accounts look pretty good. And will continue to look good at the end. Once we get that invoice, that last invoice is not paid, which is why our balances don't reflect that large number yet. So there's about a $300,000 invoice to the U.S. government, and they pay them very steadily within 30 days, and they get auto deposited into our account. So I expect that will be in there by the end of the month. And that's as of May 31st too. So anything that's happening in June, they have not been invoiced for, and we haven't. That doesn't reflect in that accounting. So I'll pause and see if anybody has any questions about those two.
I'm just going to say that's a fantastic opportunity that you set up, and it just really worked out. So again, thank you for yourself, Michelle, and Laura doing such a grandiose job with all that. We couldn't have done it without your all's extra hard work. So thank you for that.
Hey, Rick, this is Todd.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Rick. Hey, good morning.
Morning.
I just wanted to echo your comments to the staff. That is tremendous. Even though the council has been in great financial stability for many years, this just adds to that stability moving forward. The only question I would have, has there been any discussion at the executive board level, since Craig mentioned that that funding is not in the FY21 budget, of what's the desire of the executive board to place that money in money market or to invest it in other avenues? I'm just curious.
We haven't had that discussion yet, Todd, but that's something we're gonna have as we near the end of the contract to see if it's gonna be extended or if we should move that money now, but we have not had that discussion yet.
Okay, thanks.
Part of that has been delayed just because we wanted to make sure we cleared salaries and everything else so that we could figure out exactly, what the net windfall was.
And we needed that operating capital when we were in high mode with all that to be able, because of the fact that we were paying payroll ahead of what we were billing. So that's a big part of it as well. So thanks, Brian, for that.
Yep, absolutely, completely understand. And again, great job to all the staff at the council.
Yeah, this could not have been accomplished without Michelle and Laura especially. She worked tirelessly to help get this all up and on board, and it's been quite an effort. So the other thing I have is our regional awards are steady coming in. Michelle's is in charge of that right now, and she's contacting all of last year's submissions that did not win. And all the other councils are doing this as well. So she's contacting last year's submissions to see if they want to resubmit. So hopefully we'll have a full slate. And we'll be setting a virtual meeting near the end of the month to discuss that with the nomination committee, which we have to look back in the minutes. I can't remember who's on the nomination committee, but I remember that we did form one. But we'll make sure that all happens. And we've been talking and just wondering what do these virtual meetings look like in the post-COVID world in the future? And that's discussions that I think we need to have as a council, how we want to meet. I know that I think our office has been more productive in this format. There's not as much driving around. It's easy to get, it's easy to get to Richmond when I have to just walk from my kitchen after making a cup of coffee and sit down and talk to everybody. And it's a lot easier to meet, and traffic is much easier. And the gas prices have gone down dramatically as well. So that's pretty good. But we'll see what that looks like in the future. I'll leave that up to you all to decide. And the other big thing we have going on, and I can let Michelle talk about this, is our Ashes to Art program has been really ramping up. They've partnered with George Mason University, and an article was written and will be soon published about Ashes to Art and how art affects first responders. And I think a study is forthcoming that's going to prove how art affects first responders, and it's pretty exciting stuff. But I'll let Michelle give you a rundown because she's in charge of that as well.
So we're doing, for the first time, we're doing a camp. We have about, I think it's about 40 people, which is about 18 families. We decided for first responders, we decided since a lot of summer camps for kids this summer have been canceled due to COVID, we decided to run a program to help with kids that are stuck at home, since they were already stuck at home from school with the families. So we put that out, and we're not doing it every week. We're doing it every other week. So we're giving them assignments and deciding to do, giving them assignment, and then we're doing a Zoom session with them. We're breaking it up into two, kind of doing it two groups, that type of thing. Kathy has been great to work with. She, of course, would rather work in person with them. And hoping that maybe when we get it eventually, it coming back online, when we can meet together, we'll be doing that. We've been sending it out. She's working on a website. We're hoping 1st of July, we'll be able to put it out. We've put it out throughout the whole state and Maryland, trying to put up everything together. We did the mandalas on the mandala challenge, which was successful. So more to come on that. Does anybody have any questions? So that's our big project this summer, I guess this summer, is to do that. So questions? I can't see, so. No.
No, that's a really good job, Michelle. It's I'm excited to see how that develops.
Yeah, and the participants of the camp also got like an art kit and everything to get started. That's part of the camp. So they've been supplied with the items that they need to do the camp virtually too, which was done by Ashes to Art. So that's really nice for them to be able to do it kind of without any expense to the participants.
Exactly. And then we will be sending more. The kit actually came with pretty much everything. Came with paint, came with color pencils. I mean, everything, even the paper, literally paintbrushes, everything like that. And then she may have a little bit more that we may send to them, but we had them. We will be sending them maybe a little bit more, but everything.
Yeah, and it's COVID friendly. Like Michelle had ordered every one of these things individually and had them shipped to the people's personal residences so they can participate with their family and everything. It's pretty exciting stuff. So
yeah, it's pretty amazing, to be honest. That's incredible. Great. Nice job, Michelle.
Yeah. And Ashes to Art is financially secure as well. So we've received two $20,000 donations specifically just for Ashes to Art. So none of this money is coming out of any of the other funds for the councils or regional assessments or anything like that. It's been a standalone program that has been working very, very well on its own. So that's quite amazing. To answer Todd's question from earlier, the executive board did decide to do something with the money so far. They decided to give a 5% bonus to the staff members starting July 1, as opposed to a larger raise because it's a windfall amount of money. We didn't want to encumber a lot of, this is before OEMS made their decision to give us the 3% extra money that would go towards raises. So the budget you're going to see later today shows a flat, is flat, but we can modify that. So that total amount of the bonuses is about $13,000 for all the employees, which is Ray, Laura, Michelle, and myself, and which is about 2.5% of the total profit so far. So, and it'll be a less of a percentage at the end of this month because the money keeps coming in, it looks like. But we'll see how that goes. And that's all I have, unless you have any other further questions. That's all in my report. I think I covered everything. That's everything except for what I forgot.
And that's everything. Any questions of Craig?
Craig, I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing. I think that you and your staff are doing a phenomenal job, both from the COVID aspect and also from seeking opportunities to enhance our EMS system and also enhance the council's ability. So again, thank you.
Thank you. There's a lot coming from you.
Ray, can you give us an AHATC coordinator report?
Yeah, I will. So I'm going to try and share my screen with you. So 3 things. We've submitted our insurance for our renewal for the AHA Training Center agreement. That's still pending. I do not anticipate any issues with that. AHA cards have been extended for 120 days starting March 2020, ends June 2020. So anybody that has a card that expires in July currently must recertify at the end of that time period. If you're at June, you're good through October. As a training center, we're fine with that extension. It's really going to be up to the employers how they want to deal with that. My recommendation is to, hey, let it go. If you need to put something formal into training files, and I would just basically reference, we should be getting an email later on with the minutes that will actually have the document that says from the AHA that they've been extended. Put that on notice with file or somehow do that so that way you can say, hey, our providers were extended because of COVID. One of the other training memos that came out that was updated back in April, although it says it expires May 31st, of this year. I would say that because there's a clause in there talking about local governments and state government practice, since we're just entering into phase 2, these 4 bullet points that the instructor should decontaminate the mannequins after each practice or testing, not to use face shields, do not do mouth to mouth. Each student should be provided with a pocket mask and a one-way valve so that they can do the one-on-one skill portions. And then BVM should be used for the 2 respirator skills, and they're talking about using gloves and decontaminating the BVM in between students. So the way I interpret that memo is that since we're still in phase 2, we're good to go with that. I know that Fairfax City had a concern about that, so I addressed that with them separately, but I did also send the memo out. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me on that.
Any questions of Ray? Okay. I know a lot of places are getting ready to, Winchester's starting to start courses back up, and I think it's going to be a fiasco for a little while, but that's my personal opinion. So, Beth, have you all had a meeting, the State EMS Advisory Board? I don't think so, right?
No, we have not. In fact, the May meeting has been canceled, and they're still not sure what we're going to do in August, whether it's going to be virtual or not. The Board of Health had held their meeting, a virtual meeting, which I think had something like 106 or 60, I don't know, some ridiculous large number of people on a virtual meeting last week. And at that meeting did approve the state EMS plan, which our staff has already distributed to the world. The only other thing going on, they're starting to transition back to offices, at least in concept, across the board of the Department of Health. EMS is still primarily teleworking, however, for the short term. And if anybody wants to see the latest numbers, the quarterly report to the board got released a little bit later than usual, but it is on the OEMS meetings and reports website if anybody's interested in looking at old numbers. And that they don't know what they're going to do for August or for November. So available for questions.
Thank you, Beth. Brian, I don't think you've had a meeting either, have you?
We haven't, but I just shared an email that Karen Owens sent out earlier this week. So I sent it to Craig and Michelle and Laura. It basically is, there's a study that's coming out of the University of Pittsburgh that is looking at sleep studies and a training program that is designed for EMS providers. And they're looking for people or individuals that are interested in participating. It's an online training, so anybody can virtually do it. And then I guess through the 6-month study, you get a series of $5 gift cards for your participation, up to like $35 if anybody's interested. So I sent that forward. Craig, if you want to share that with the group, then you can do that. But yeah, clearly we haven't had a meeting. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian. I know EMS, PI, and trauma hasn't met, but I don't think Dr. Weir's on, is he, Craig?
No, he's not. He's not able to come today. He's working with interns this morning.
PI and trauma met yesterday, and we had a lively meeting that we talked about sepsis. We talked about the impact of COVID on trauma care. Dr. Serrano suggested that if we're interested, there's actually a great deal of collaboration that's gone on across the region with regard to trauma services during the time of COVID, and they are going to be putting together a paper about that. He also floated the idea that if people were interested and willing, that there's potential to do a study involving pre-hospital antibiotics in the management of sepsis. And our system question, was on community education, which has pretty much we've referred everybody to websites because we can't communicate together right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Beth. Rick, anything for Medevac?
We have not met, and I have not heard of anything going on.
Okay, great. Dr. Morgan?
So there's continued to be periodic, it was weekly, now it's every other week, phone calls with both with state medical direction and regional. Mostly they're just collaboration where folks are sort of comparing notes on COVID practices and you know, sharing ideas and impacts. Everything from, you know, how do we interface with nursing homes to, you know, PPE issues. So nothing of great note in terms of those issues. We did have a pretty good active discussion about the ability to do continuing education virtually, which was initially not being permitted by the state, and now they have changed their posture on to working towards a solution to allow you know, GoToMeeting and Zoom for Con Ed. It's not in place yet, but it's something they're actively working towards. So there was a fair amount of support for that from the OMDs. But beyond that, no other major issues to report.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Any questions of Dr. Morgan? Michelle, do you have anything for training certification?
They haven't met for either, but I can tell you the weekly meetings that we do with the Office of EMS has been very informational, that we send out for everybody to join. There is no more, if people haven't heard this, there is no more testing, psychomotor practical testing for the rest of this year. And most likely, I'm not sure that's going to happen next year. If anybody has anybody that falls into that needed to have testing done, they can always send me an email. And then what I do is I connect them with Debbie. Actually, I copy her with the instructor on it, because what they're doing is they are taking still their cognitive, and then I put them in touch, even with challenge. If they have challenge, legal recognition, anything like that, they're still not, she actually helps them out, and she does everything. The other thing too is tonight they're doing Virginia EMS portal update, a schedule update, fix and upgrade to fix more bugs, just to let everybody know. I think that's about it. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Michelle.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any other committees that we missed or didn't cover? Any other comments? So that takes us to old business, awards committee. And Craig and I were talking earlier, and I forget who was actually heading that up. Does someone remember?
I believe I was nominated as chair of that committee.
I was gonna say, doesn't Byron always chair that committee?
That's a good point.
Not always. I have for the past couple of years.
Okay, Byron, anything you have to pass on?
No, I'll be catching up with you and Craig. I had a conversation with Craig a couple of months ago, about a month or so ago about it.
Okay, great. We'll talk about that later. That brings us board of directors report. We'll start with.
Actually,
Brian.
can you wait a second?
Okay. Yes,
because
Michelle,
we have extended the deadline to the end of this month.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you're up if you're available.
I am. Hopefully the background noise isn't going to kill anybody. But couple of things from Alexandria. We're going to be welcoming Chief Andrew Duke from Fairfax as our new assistant chief. And then we also had a internal promotion. Mike Sharp, who was a deputy chief, is moving up to assistant chief. Chief Duke is going to be joining us. I believe it's the 22nd is going to be his first day. Maybe it's sometime that week. So he'll be joining us coming from Fairfax. So looking forward to having that, and then subsequent promotions internally to get some additional people into deputy positions, and then subsequent battalion chief, et cetera, et cetera. So long awaited, and definitely looking forward to having everybody on board. We are entering in we actually have a closed pod agreement with Alexandria Health Department for vaccinations, but obviously that's expired. The last time we did anything like that was with the H1N1 rollout. And fortunately for us, we had Ray in charge of that, and Ray is now sitting in the emergency manager spot. So we're re-entering and redoing our MOU to have a closed pod for vaccinations once they become available. We'll have all of our paramedics go through the training through the Office of EMS so that they can all give vaccinations. We'll start internally with our personnel and then other first responders. And then we'll reach out to other agencies within the city, and then ultimately we may end up helping the health department with providing citywide vaccinations and those types of things as well. But all that still has to be determined. And then lastly, we're going through a process of career ladder development for both our remaining single role providers as well as our dual role providers. So if anybody has any job descriptions at various levels, as well as promotional announcements that you could ship to me, so that we could review things and kind of I guess embark on a new day for some of our folks to provide some opportunity of upward mobility, and then figure out where we have crossover points and stuff like that. But we are definitely going to put this on a fast track, so the sooner the better. If you guys have any, like I said, promotional announcements and job descriptions for all levels, whether they're cross-trained or single role providers.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Any questions of Brian? Arlington, either Ann or Chief Rashutter?
And Kate Kramer's on the line too.
I see Kate. Sorry, Kate. Didn't mean to leave you out. I'm so sorry.
I don't really have anything other to report other than what we discussed at the EMS Ops Board meeting, just the same trending as the other departments. Now we do have, and I'll let Kate speak to it, is in the process of the ACULA testing, COVID testing process. The county has purchased 3 of them for Arlington, and Kate has worked very hard on getting the CLIA waiver through our Department of Public Health. But also, if that had not worked, we would have been able to get it through the council as well. And I'll just let her give a real quick update on where we are, because we're just not really quite sure where and when this should be deployed. But Kate, can you just speak to that real quick?
Yeah, so the ACULA machine is a rapid PCR COVID-19 test performed with the anterior nasal swab. So it takes about 30 minutes to run the test. It is a CLIA waived device, but you do need to operate under a current CLIA license, CLIA waiver. So that was a bit of a challenge for us, was to get that because we have a different CLIA license because of the EPOC machine that we have. So lots of details about that. But anyway, you have to go through a test validation process, which validates that the way that you are collecting the specimen is getting the same results that the manufacturer expects you to get. So through that process, you have to have at least 10 positives and 10 negatives with other sources of confirmation. So that's been our big challenge right now, is just trying to get access to 10 people who are currently positive and willing to let us swab them again. We have finally kind of attained a way to do that in the hospital. Virginia Hospital Center is now calling us when they have a positive patient, and myself or Dr. Smith are going in there to consent the patient and swab them again and get a copy of their formal lab results. So we've had 3 or 4 of those so far, so we're hoping that we'll get these machines off the ground either by the end of the week or next week, that we'll be able to confirm our testing. But like Chief Marsh said, we still don't have a really clear answer as to what we're doing with these tests. I think they were bought with the intention of testing first responders, public safety personnel in a rapid manner. So we're still just kind of trying to work with our public health and our occupational health docs and try to figure out, if they're willing to go to the testing-based strategy rather than the symptom-based strategy, even though we're not in a staffing extremis or staffing critical role. So looks like we'll have them. I've certainly, through my contacts in the county, there's definitely other uses that people are looking for. One of the big ones that Dr. Smith and I would like to see is testing on those that we are terminating in the field. So then we're aware of the risk to our providers who provided care for that person. And then also, we've had some issues with our diversion program not having places to divert to because they've all shut down, like shelters and detox facilities wanting a COVID test before someone could enter there. So having this testing device, a rapid test available would kind of open up our diversion opportunities again. So, regardless of what public health comes out with, I do think there will be some utility of the machine. So yeah, that's the long-winded version as usual.
Thanks, Kate. Otherwise, Arlington is again, seeing the same thing as the regionally. We have discontinued our telemedicine line. I wouldn't say it got a whole lot of utility, but we have found a lot of usefulness in the ALS 113 Omega response vehicle. It would be my wish that it continue in perpetuity, but that's going up the chain as to the decisions as well as with Dr. Smith and leadership. Peaceful protests. We haven't had any law enforcement or violence regarding protests in Arlington and the City of Falls Church. My neighborhood is very quiet. And what we've also seen is that call volume is increasing slightly because people are kind of going back to the normal, but COVIDs are down. So that's the same as we've seen across the region. That is sort of the update from Arlington, unless anyone has any questions.
And can you elaborate for me just briefly? In the beginning, you said nothing different from what you all said in the EMS ops meeting, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, it was just the regional trends, and everyone was on the same page regarding call volume increasing slightly.
Yeah, okay.
And that, for example, we don't have anyone in quarantine right now, so our workforce is healthy, and we haven't had any problems with supply chains regarding PPE, and just everyone's just trying to adapt to the new culture in the firehouse, which has turned out to be kind of a challenge as well. But our health and safety office is making changes and signage within the stations and things like that for distancing, and that's moving forward. But they're really on top of that and have been doing a really good job with that. And I think our personnel are as well complying pretty well with restrictions, with very little grumbling. So we're very pleased with our workforce protection plan.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Any other questions of Ann or Kate? All right. City of Fairfax, Brian, you still on?
Yes, sir. Very similar stuff there. The call volume in the region's been going up. We've seen a steady increase of that. Our COVID stuff is about stable, but our employees are doing well. Got enough PPE. Nobody seems to be getting isolated or inappropriately exposed. So we're doing well there. kind of working through the civil disturbances that are in our area. But even then, based off the information I've received, I think the amount of protests are starting to decrease. So we're hopeful that we're kind of getting beyond that. Regionally, Chief Vita is working with the NVEMSC to come up with a civil disturbance protocol for the region. So you may see that coming across your guys' desks. And that just really talks about how fire and rescue are going to try to address this maybe as a region. But they're going to work on that, I think, at the senior ops level further before releasing it. Other than that, that's what I have for the city of Fairfax, unless Tom Olander has any additional items to add.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian. Any questions of Brian? Fairfax County, either Beth, I think Sherry was on early, or Dr. Dan's on.
Good morning, it's Sherry. Just so that everybody's aware, my replacement is Mark Kardowski. He's shadowing now, and he'll be taking over the helm on this coming Monday. And Chief Duke is heading off to Alexandria, as what was stated. Our last IAP for the handling of the COVID incident has been published, and then we're going to move towards a situational status report. And I'll kick it off to Beth.
We have our VCU students are doing national registry testing this week. They're into core stuff. Our ALS interns, we have 7 career staff and 2 volunteers that are participating in that, and they just are doing in-process phase 2 testing. There's lots of reorganization going on, or realignment going on in our organization, and we're awaiting the agency-wide EMS 2025 report, which is due at the end of July. So more to follow on what things look like moving forward. I'm still mostly a telework person, and it's good to see faces again, besides those that are at my house who I know and love.
Nothing additional from my side. I'm just grateful for all this collaboration.
Thank you, Dr. Ludeman. Any questions of Fairfax? Fairfax County Police. Paul, are you there?
Can you all hear me now?
Yep, we can.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
We don't have a whole lot going on. We did have Dr. Dan come out recently and give all of our medics a refresher and update on the FACTOR program. So we're up to speed on that. The biggest news is that we're now starting the process to relocate to Manassas Airport. Hopefully we will have that transition done by the end of July, and we'll be operating out of Manassas for anywhere from a year to 2 years while they build a new hangar at our existing site over there by the Fire Academy. We've got a group of new candidates that will be starting the VCU program when they get started back up. So they will be the next group of paramedics that we're sending through. But that's pretty much it for us right now.
Any questions of Paul? All right, great. Thank you, sir. Loudoun County. I know we got multiple.
You get to listen to me first, and everybody else can follow suit, I guess, after that.
All right, Chief Cutter.
Hi. Just a quick update, same as everybody else is. We're seeing a slow trend downward with COVID. We're seeing a slow trend upward with the other types of incidents as everything starts to get turned back on. Still using EMD card 36 to route most of our stuff related to flu as a primary starting point. All of the planned protests that we've had within the county, knock on wood, we've number one known about, number two have all been peaceful so far. we're working through the process with Dr. Morgan and Inova Blood Donor Services to move towards a whole blood program for our EMS supervisors in the field. We've been working through the process of temperature monitoring through our Compex systems, which is our medication access key systems, to get into the med boxes. That's been positive so far with that. It's kind of like Big Brother watching our temperatures all the time, and it'll send notifications if the test solution is outside of the range. So far has all been positive with that. Also working through the IT folks here within the county to move forward with a Butterfly IQ field ultrasound program as well. So that's some of the quick updates from Loudoun. So with that, I'll give the floor to anybody else from Loudoun that would like to present information.
Just one quick thing. I just wanted to mention we are doing a advanced EMT class starting in 2 weeks. It's a daytime class, Monday through Friday, and we have currently 10 folks in the class, 6 career providers and 4 volunteers. So we're continuing to chip away at that endeavor to try to create some interim ALS level providers in our county.
Thanks, Dr. Morgan. That's great. I still think there's a lot of value in that program. I know Chief Kiger and I've talked about that last year or earlier in the year. I still think that's something viable for the region as we move forward. Let's see, City of Manassas.
Good morning. This is Tom. I'm not sure if Captain Carver's on or not. Just a couple things. I'm not for sure if I've mentioned to the group, but our fire chief, Chief Rob Clemens, is retiring. I believe August 29th is going to be his last day. He did extend for 2 months when COVID, or I believe 3 months when COVID popped up, but his last official day is going to be August 29th. The fire chief announcement is still out there and open if anyone is interested. Pretty much the same status quo as everyone else is reporting from a COVID standpoint, as well as the civil disturbance events that we've had in the city. Several of those started out very lively, if you will, and turned violent, but over the past week or two, they have stabilized, and most of those have went off very peacefully. And we've been very fortunate that this week there are no planned events that law enforcement or we're aware of. So that's been very good, and given us an opportunity to take a breath, just like most of you all. So that's all I have, unless Captain Carver has anything else.
I'm good, Chief. Thanks.
Any questions of the City of Manassas? Is anybody on from the City of Manassas Park? Okay, we'll keep moving. Marie Powell, you still on? I'll let you report for MWA. Is she still on, Craig?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm here, but I don't have a report.
Sure you do. We can just make up stuff. So for MWA, we actually have an ambulance in service at 303, which we've had for a while, but also on certain shift days, if we have enough staffing, we actually have an ambulance in service at station 304 as well. So we're staffing at Dulles 2 ambulances on days where we have the additional staffing, which is not the norm for us. We also have 3 people in an EMTB to P program with Alex folks, if I'm not mistaken. Brian, is that correct? With AEC, I think.
That is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they just started, I think, last week in that program. So we're hoping to get 3 more medics out of that. So eventually we'll get back to the point that Station 303 will have a medic unit in service, but that's all in time. And And other than that, we're actually heavily staffed right now and looking at other staffing models for the future. They're kicking around with the union right now 24/72s, and they're just not sure how that modeling will work. But other than that, that's all that's going on with us. Chief Buckley did retire or leave the authority and moved officially to Florida. So we do have currently open an assistant chief's position of support services at the airport. And I think that closes at the end of next week, if anybody's interested. And I think that's it. Marie, did I miss anything?
No, you got it all.
Okay.
Hey,
Any
Chief
questions?
Bonnett,
Yes.
is Ambulance 304 available through CAD to CAD? Do you know that?
It is in the CAD. So when they're putting that in service, they're putting it in CAD to CAD, so it should be available for response in Loudoun.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
I believe they ran one last night in Loudoun, didn't they? So.
I think so.
Yeah.
So it is available, and we want it to be available for you all to use it as needed. So, and it's all based on our staffing, but on B shift, we've been able to staff it pretty regularly, and the other shifts are trying to do the same as staffing permits. So, Prince William County. Anybody on?
Yeah, good morning. This is Danny Acosta.
Hey, welcome.
So we're just doing the same thing as everybody else. We're seeing a reduction in the COVID calls and an increase in just regular call volume in general. We got a recruit school that's finishing up, as well as a pretty large class in our paramedic program that's getting ready to come out to the field and begin their internships. We're in the middle of like a trial phase for the 1-on-1s on our medic units in one of our battalions in the county, and we'll be getting some feedback on that shortly. And other than that, just trying to catch our breath just like everybody else.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Life Care. Did I see anybody on, Craig, from Life Care?
I did not.
I did not either. NVCC.
Gary had another appointment this morning, so it's just me. So the campuses are all physically closed, although the college is open. We're anticipating that staff and faculty will return to campuses physically sometime in July, as long as the state of Virginia continues moving with their reopening phases. The fall semester is scheduled to open on time as scheduled, which is August the 24th. And we have the full array of classes that we always have. We'll have EMT, paramedic, the I to P bridge, if there's any out there that still need I to P bridge. We have the finishing the associate degree. So we have the same offerings that we always have. The only directive that we've been given is that if anything is a pure lecture class and doesn't require a hands-on lab, that should be done through distance learning. And that doesn't mean it's necessarily an entirely online class, because the class meetings would probably take place via Zoom, because we're using Zoom very heavily. They just won't meet in a classroom on campus. The labs will occur, hands-on labs will occur on campus as scheduled, with whatever restrictions we have in place at that time, whether it's a restricted number of people in a room at a time or, but that's 2 months away. So it'll all depend upon they're relying heavily on what the Virginia governor's plan is for reopening, and the restrictions there, and also the CDC. Obviously, clinical and internship is dependent upon when the facilities and agencies are willing and able to accept students again. So we're planning on a kind of normal fall, just maybe not as many on campus. If we can do Zoom classes and those kinds of things. That's all I know right now. Things could change.
Great, thank you so much. OEMS program rep, did I see Lenny on?
He is not, but we have Chris.
I think he. Chris, do you have anything else to report? I think.
Yeah, so I did just get an email from Ron. I'm going to be sending it out to you all here shortly. The effective date as of July 1, all of the background checks that have gone to the point where agencies have had to pay for them and so forth after the ruling from the previous way that the legislation was written on that. As of July 1, that's changing, and it's going back to where OEMS will pay for everybody's application and background check again. I'll be sending it out to the listserv for the regional directors and the presidents and the medical directors, along with some further guidance documentation. But so it's a little bit of extra light in the end of the tunnel there for agencies for your budgets coming into FY 2021. I think the, what's it say? The guidance document is attached. Clarification, your members must submit to the background checks within 60 days of affiliation. So again, it's one of those, just follows along with it, but it does, again, it takes that out of the necessary for the financial side of it on the agency themselves. So other than that, I think as your staff and a number of you from the board have been sitting on the weekly webinars with us at the office and the regional councils, I think a lot of the information that we're able to put out to you, I think most of you have already gotten from both your staff and from those. So if there's any other questions or anything for us, just let me know.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Chris, do you mind going over, I don't want to put you on the spot, but go over Rappahannock and Blue Ridge and just the council offices that are now part of the OEMS office and what that looks like. I just want to make sure everybody is informed about how that's progressing.
Sure. So 2018, 2019, I forget the exact date that everything was all kind of done with CSIMS, Central Senate O over in Stanton. They came on as the first hybrid office. So October of 19, I believe it was, Daniel Lincolns was hired as their kind of the equivalent as the executive director. He's a program manager for that office. So he is operating kind of as Craig does now, except he's a VDH OEMS employee. And we just started, today's what, the 11th? So yesterday, his first additional staff person under VDH just started yesterday. Is Brandon, I cannot remember his last name, I apologize. But he just started in yesterday, and I assume he'll probably be on the conference call tomorrow, or the webinar tomorrow, but I can't say for sure. So with that, earlier this year, the end of last year, the process all started where the board from REMS and BREMS both approached the office, wanting to kind of come on board as well for becoming another regional hybrid office. And with that, Mary Catherine and Wayne Perry, who were already the executive directors for those, have been hired on as the new program managers for those councils. And the process, MK started, I believe it was May 10th, and Wayne, I think, just started May 25th, maybe, I think it was, for their official start dates coming over onto the office side. So again, with that the additional staffing and everything, they're going to be working on the EWPs, the employee work plans or job descriptions for the additional roles that go on in those different offices, because the positions necessarily that are in the CSIMS office may or may not work in BREMS or REMS or wherever else. So those positions are all going to be kind of specifically molded for what is needed in each region. And it's Brandon Havens is his last name. One of the other changes, Jackie Hunter, who some of you may be familiar with, she's our procurement officer. She's been with the office for a number of years. As of yesterday, she just transferred back over to the ACE division. She is going to be working with Debbie and Chad as the accreditation coordinator, I believe is the official title. She'll be dealing with a lot of the student scholarship program, and she'll also be out there for the accreditation of a lot of the ALS programs and BLS programs and so forth. She had started off in the office 12, 15 years ago, something like that, I believe it was, in what was formerly known as the DED, the Division of Education and Development, and she has now returned back over to that division since it's been renamed and everything as the ACE division. So, but other than that, that's kind of the nutshell of it. To kind of go back into the other two councils, there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in the process. Both are trying to find new places for their office. They've both been looking for new office space. Financially, they were a little bit more strapped with that. So now we're able to help find a new location for them to be that might be a little bit more fitting for them. And the nice thing is their agencies, that's a big budget cut for them too, because now their agencies don't have to contribute money into the council. So that helped them out a lot in those aspects as well. But other than that, if there's any questions or anything.
Hey, Chris, this is Chief Lupton from the city of Manassas. Just a quick question. Where does the Standard of Excellence program stand?
Right now, the Standard of Excellence, all of those programs are kind of on hold right now. They're still active programs, but because of the social distancing and all of the restrictions that are in place, and also we're kind of limited a little bit because of the FOIA requirements and everything like that, because it's still sub work kind of from the advisory board. A lot of those have kind of been put on hold. We are still accepting applications and everything for agencies that want to apply into it. We have a list of agencies that we need to get out for revisits from the original rounds. They're due for those revisits now, and we have a number of them have requested for us to come back out. And I think we have maybe 3 other agencies that have submitted their initial request for visits. So we did just bring on for our division, we did bring over Hannah Lyons a couple months ago. She was previously with the office for 3 years, I think. And she had just been working as a part-time staffer for us under Human Resources. And now she is under our division for Chatter. And with that, that's going to enable us to have a little bit more people power to try to get out there and do some more work. Again, she's still a 29-hour employee, but a lot of the programs that we have right now under our division, unfortunately, are on hold simply because of the restrictions that have been put in place because of COVID.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Any other
I just wanted to make
questions?
sure, that was everybody understands what's going on around the state, and I wanted to let you know that the executive directors have been meeting weekly, and that includes the state program managers, which were 2 previous executive directors, and Daniel's has fit right into that group like a glove, and we're all collaborating seamlessly. And I think it's interesting. There are pros and cons to each different build. I know that everyone has discussed this and talked about this offline. There are benefits to having a nonprofit in the region that can do things that the state cannot do. There's benefits to having the state in the region. So I just wanted to let you know that I think it's going well at the state level, and that everyone is collaborating seamlessly, and we're getting along well, and it's going very well. So that's all I had for that. I just wanted to answer any of those questions if they have any.
Any questions related to that? Rick, what you got for PHI?
Not a whole lot. I do want to thank some of the municipalities that have reached out to us and done some pre-planning during the protests. Obviously, for the vast majority of them remained nonviolent, which was great. But having the pre-planning there, having a pre-planned LZ just in case, I think works out really well. The other thing, and I don't really know how the best way to go about it is other than just through some of the 911 centers, but one of the big issues that we've had over the last couple of weeks, and it's hopefully dying down now, is with a lot of the violence is being able to land in places and knowing they're actually safe and secure. I think we had reports down in Lynchburg of people firing automatic weapons into the air near the hospital. Doesn't affect us in Northern Virginia, but stuff like that's kind of going on in different places. And so obviously that makes for unsafe flying conditions. A couple of the news agencies in the region have been flying drones in some places they're not supposed to be. And I'm sure some of the non-news, personal news gathering information have also been flying some drones. So it's been a little interesting, but I just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that. PTS, Kate?
Nothing super exciting to report. We are kind of seeing a slight drop in the COVID transports percentage-wise with our regular transports, but for the most part, everything's kind of staying the same. We're not seeing a huge uptick in interfacility transports. I think a lot of people are still not going in for their elective surgeries and things like that, in which they're going to need transport by ambulance to a rehab facility or something like that. So we're just keeping busy and hanging in there.
Thank you. Any questions of Kate? Preston, Keith, you on?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Normally I have mute issues, so. Alrighty, so we're continuing, we're trying to ramp up alternative methods for continuing education. One of our trauma docs, Dr. Boggs, went out with the police helicopter earlier this week, I believe it was, for some continuing education. So we're going to be looking, whatever the next phase is, we're going to be looking, I'm going to be reaching out to each of the departments to figure out if we were to put something on with all the guidelines, social distancing, et cetera, are you guys going to be able to come to it, or are we going to need to do a WebEx? I know folks aren't really excited about continuing education sitting in front of their computer, but we're trying to look at alternative methods for those type of things. Surgery started up not too long ago. As you can imagine, it's a little slow, but we are allowing visitors to go in with the folks when they go to do before their surgery and afterwards, but we're not allowing them upstairs. We may start that next week. And we're also looking at the possibility of letting one visitor in the ED as well starting next week, but more to come on that one. As everybody else has mentioned, our COVID trending is slowly creeping down, so which is a good thing. And basically that's about it. Here for questions.
Any questions of Keith?
Keith, you really do need to go to a screenshot so people can see your COVID transformation if they haven't.
The baby beard's coming back. I just haven't got there yet, and I haven't figured out how to put that on there yet.
Thanks, Keith. Pam? Pam's still on. Looks like she is. Pam, are you there? Craig, can you unmute her?
Oh, you're kidding me.
There you are.
There we go. Now, can you hear me now?
We can.
Yeah. Okay, good. Sorry, I don't have a camera, so that's why I don't have my picture up. And it's a good thing because I have 2 black eyes. It would be awesome. So I want to say thank you to Northern Virginia Hospital Alliance. I know they're not on right now, but I think that everyone has received contributions from their supply chain, and that has helped our supply chain. So kudos to them for helping us out there. Also, we just did a video with Chief Kiger and Stone Springs with how the hospital is safe to come to, and it went out on social media. So I'm hoping that that helps with people understanding that, you know, the hospital is a safe place to come, and, you know, we haven't had any COVID cross-contaminations or anything like that, or hospital-acquired COVID. We're also following the separate COVID section for any of our patients in the ED as well as on the floor. And then our level 3 for transfer of patients for incoming units is what we're following. I think that's already been discussed as well. And as far as service lines, our surgeries started back up at the end of May. We did 3 days a week. We're going to be going to 4 days a week next week. So you may see some more transports to those rehab centers. Outpatient imaging is going to start back up the week of 6/22, as well as an additional day of surgeries. Interventional radiology is going to reopen in July 6th, and the NICU should be back online early August. Our behavioral health unit has been put on hold until next year, and our outpatient surgery center that's going to be in the freestanding ED is probably still going to go forward, but it's just delayed at this point. So it should still come back on sometime this year, towards the end of the year. I think they're starting to look at when they're going to demo, because originally it was supposed to start in June, and obviously it didn't. And as Craig said, we are going to be participating in the Patient for Room 100 training. We'll start this week. And that's all I got. If anybody has any questions.
No questions of Pam?
Thank you.
Hey, Mark, how about Fairfax? You're muted, Mark.
That shift A didn't work.
There you are.
Hey, so first off, I want to thank everybody for the nice tribute we had. We had Fairfax City, Fairfax County Police, State Police, George Mason, I think University was there, and then a nice flyover by a Black Hawk helicopter. That was pretty cool. They came in low. So thank you guys for that. That was nice. The hospital really appreciated it. A couple of things. PED side, we're taking people from 21 and below. We're matching the hospital, the children's hospital, so they take children or kids, young adults, I guess you'd say, from 21 on down. We don't take anybody who's going to be violent or have anything that's going to be hurt a young kid. So anybody from 21 and under, so your providers will be kind of shocked that they're going to take somebody who's 21 on that side. I want to thank Jamie for starting this, but the Room 100, we have a patient for Room 100. All of the Innova facilities will be starting that on June 15th. And Jamie started that originally, but we kind of continue. We got it up and going again. Because of social distancing, a lot of the fire departments aren't using the EMS room. So we put some chairs outside for them to sit in and do the reports. The gowns, it's kind of hit or miss on the people coming in and grabbing a gown or doffing in the room. I've been trying to catch people and educate them, making sure that they do the right thing. We have a lot of backboards. Prince William, we got 13 plus backboards out here for you guys. I know you guys come once a month. I don't know when's the last time you were here. We have issues with private transports being out in the bay, leaving the units running. It kind of gets hot out there now that the guys are out there social distancing. It's hot, noisy, and if they need to leave it running because it's going to break down, they need to park across where the police park. The Epic merge has been kind of working good for us here. It's not 100%. We're getting maybe 80% of the incidents put into the Epic charts. I was wondering on the fire department side, is it working for you guys?
They have 5 classes for teams throughout. And then some of the other places in town.
Nope. Yes or no?
Is Steve Hartman still on?
Yeah, I'm still here. Thus far, we have not gotten any data back on outcomes from Image Trend.
Okay.
They claim the end of June. You know, they shot for the middle of April, so end of June. I'll let you know. Thus far, we've got nothing back.
Well, thank you. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
So right now.
Any questions, Mark?
No.
Jamie, I saw you on. Are you available? Oh, Rick, you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to add on to Mark's for a sec. Doesn't affect a lot of people other than maybe Paul and us, but the ER helipad at Fairfax should be opening next week for like the first time in 6 or 8 months. So, yay.
Yeah, I think that the holdup was that tent they have out front. They were afraid the tent might blow away, which is kind of silly, but thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Jamie, are you still on?
I am.
Hello.
Sorry, I got a call. Alexandria, we changed our policy about restocking medications due to an equipment change in the ED. So everybody has to go to the pharmacy now, even if you just need aspirin. We put up signs here and we communicated out. Thanks, Craig and Michelle, for the help on that. And we similarly have a tent that is taking up 2 lanes of our EMS bay. It hasn't seemed to cause a traffic congestion problem yet, but on Monday we're meeting to talk about taking it down. We have not been using it for the stated reason, which was COVID as a triage area for a few weeks. And as we started to take it down, the protests started to ramp up, and it was the weekend that didn't go so well down in DC. So we left it up in case we needed it for those type of patients, but Monday we'll probably make the decision to take it down as well. So over the next week, you'll see ours and Fairfax is coming down.
All right, great. Any questions of Jamie? Any other partners or organizations that I missed? No, do we need to take 5 minutes before we jump into new business so people can get a snack? Oh, yep. Kate, is that a 5-minute yes? Okay, Kate says yes. So let's take 10 minutes and then we'll reconvene. We'll start with the new business. So I have 11:29, so 11:40 we'll start back.
Sounds good.
All right, so next up is our FY21 budget. Craig, if you can bring that up.
Yep, and I sent out a new version of that based on the 3% adjustments from OEMS. Let me share my screen. Too many documents open. Here we go. Classic blunder, too many documents. Okay, so this budget, I sent it out to everyone, reflects the 5% increase from OEMS. It reflects a 3% raise to all staff members, and it zeroes out at the bottom. So here's the income section. Rent is stable. Accounting fees are stable. awards program. I mean, we're probably going to save quite a bit of money on a lot of this stuff. Just transferring money from snacks to other income is going to probably balance this out. So
it's too funny.
there are some
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Beth. Beth, motion to approve. Do we have a second? And are there any questions as well? I guess that's the other thing. Do we have any questions related to the budget?
So Craig, did you make adjustments to salaries?
Yeah, I made 3% increase.
Yeah, this is the amended version that includes that pay raise.
Correct. Which I emailed
good.
everyone.
But you also removed the 3% that was used in other aspects, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Correct. So this is what it looks like.
Second the motion.
All right, all in those favors, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise a
Aye.
hand, I guess. Any against? All right, thank you very much. That passes. Next is the hospital diversion plan.
There's no changes in that. That's just the standard wording from last year.
Okay, so nothing to change. Do we need to vote to approve that, or is it just?
That's a goal that needs to be approved in our minutes.
Gotcha.
Move to approve as written.
Second.
Great. Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Aye.
Great. Wonderful. So approved. And medical protocols, we talked about, Craig, that's not technically medical, right?
No, there is some medical in there because we've got the blood factor program.
Okay.
In there as well, but OEMS doesn't expect us to come up with medical protocols. We kind of turned those into regional policy and objectives. The addition to that is the policy that we hammered out with NVHA and NBERS about the exchange of gowns during COVID times or any type of infectious disease. And the last item on that, if you look at that, I'll have you can open that up yourself. It was sent to your handouts, was the Room 100 policy. So that I thought it would be good to put that in our regional policy. I don't think any of the hospitals or anyone has that documented very accurately. I went over that with Mark, and I don't think that that's really in writing so much. So I thought it'd be good for us as EMS agencies to say that's what we want to do. I don't think there's going to be any trouble with the hospitals in the region all agreeing to that. Yeah. Any of the hospital partners on board, do you see any problems with that? So far, I think it's been accepted. So I wanted to put it somewhere in writing so that you could have something to present to any hospitals in your area that you may need to discuss this with, rather than just a word of mouth to the nurse in charge at that time or so forth.
Motion to approve.
Hey, I have a question, and sorry if I'm out of the loop with this, but under the STEMI part of this regional protocols, it has rapid identification of ischemia and infarction, time/care goals, 12 lead EKG within 5 minutes. I thought that we were leaving those vague so that, that it was just a rapid acquisition, because they're kind of random numbers. They're not really picked with any scientific background.
Sure.
And they're not even consistent with Mission Lifeline guidelines. So I thought that we had talked about this in the past and had decided to, to say that we want a rapid, acquisition of a 12 lead and rapid activation of the cath lab. But I didn't think that we were specifically defining the time parameters.
Yeah, I think that's left over from a previous, from a while ago. So we can, if you want to make a motion to remove the time parameters from that portion, that's fine. We'll update that.
Yeah, so I make a motion to remove the time parameters. Like I said, I think there's a couple of things with that, and maybe if we want time parameters, maybe we make them consistent with Mission Lifeline. But there's just really no data that says, if I get my EKG at 5 minutes and 30 seconds of patient contact, that's going to make any difference in the patient's outcome. We just want it to do it quickly, and we want to get out of there quickly. So I think that needs to be left up to the individual jurisdiction as to what their individual QA process is going to be. That's my motion.
Second.
Seconded.
I hate to be that guy, But I'm going to say it now because
I don't know. We'll
it's supposed to
see
be
back. Yeah.
supposed to be parliamentary procedure, and we had a motion unseconded on the table, followed by another motion. We either need to remove the first motion, or we need to friendly amend the first motion, or defeat the other motion if we're going to carry on another motion.
Well,
Does that
if the
motion
first,
confuse
so
everybody?
Brian, if the first motion is mine, I'll amend my motion to say that we delete the specific time factor in the STEMI portion and then recommend approval beyond for the rest.
Perfect. That does work as long as we get a second to that.
Second.
Second.
Arlington.
Third. Who's on first?
How are you?
Can we add a table of contents though to this thing to make it easier to maneuver through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kate, was there a specific page number that you were reading from, just so I can put it in my notes to make sure that I take out the right thing?
I believe it's page 5.
Great, thank you.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
You might want to add actual page numbers to it as opposed to PDF page numbers.
I don't think you guys need to vote on formatting. We'll format it better.
You're killing me. Any opposed? All right, so carried. Medical exchange and restocking program. Craig, wasn't that part of what you just talked about?
No, the medical exchange and restocking program are the forms that we have.
Oh, for medications. Gotcha.
Yeah, and the pharmacy policy is in the regional document we just voted on, but the actual forms are using to exchange on that the pharmacy committee and the EMS pharmacy committee agree on. The latest versions have been sent to you, and we just need to vote on those.
Any questions of, or has everybody had a chance to actually review that? Or do we need to review it beforehand? Craig, do you remember what changes were made?
Laura's better to ask that too. There's a lot of very minor changes made every time the group gets together.
Right, so the last time the changes that were made were just really formatting issues, because some of them had milligrams written out and some of them had it abbreviated as mg. So I just went through and corrected all of that. And then there were also some changes that were decided amongst the group, like none of the hospitals were carrying certain concentrations of certain medications. So we removed those from the list altogether, but those have all been on there since at least, I believe, October of last year was when those had all been looked at and approved by the pharmacy group.
It should have been back done in November when you guys, it was met back in November. The changes were made.
And we just missed it. Okay. Does anybody have any question?
Yeah, we try to keep it up to date. So if no one's carrying a drug or a concentration, then it's been removed and discussed with all the pharmacy and EMS partners during that meeting. So that's really what is the difference between this document and previous ones.
So we changed 25 milligrams in 5 mLs of diltiazem, and the 125 milligrams in 25 mLs was updated. We added Celebrex 50 milligrams to the form for Arlington. We removed Ketorolac 60 milligrams in 2 mLs and replaced that with the Celebrex 100 milligram capsules. We removed 20 milligrams in 10 mLs of etomidate altogether. We changed metoprolol 5 milligrams in 5 mLs, and we also changed labetalol to say 100 milligrams in 20 mLs. And then ondansetron was changed to say 4 milligrams in 2 mLs. And then magnesium sulfate was changed to say 5 grams in 10 mLs. And then again, some of them were just like changing the word milligrams to mgs, and then dexamethasone, haloperidol and etomidate were all changed to the word vial because they did not have like a form that they were carried in. So like for the most part, it was just kind of minor changes, but agreements from the group as to, okay, nobody's using etomidate, so let's take it off the form altogether types of things.
On the one that was sent out with this meeting information, I don't see the Celebrex change on there. But it's very small, which is why I'm staring closely at my screen.
Yeah, and that's the problem too, is there's so much on that form that it's hard to make legible and usable without making it additional pages. So I think that was the other thing we're trying to do, is to have as much space as we can, still make it readable. Let me take a look at that form real quick.
Yeah, we may have
And
seen the wrong one.
do we have any changes post or COVID related that we need to update as well? I guess would be the other question.
Not that I'm aware of.
We've placed some things under online med control only, but we're still using them.
Okay. Laura, just let us know once you've looked at it.
Okay, yeah, I don't see it. I'll have to double check and make sure. I thought it had been added, but I will double check. I have to dial into the remote server to be able to pull it up right now. So I will check on that and get back to everybody.
Laurel, this one also is still showing some of the drugs you said you removed, like etomidate and stuff.
Okay, I'll double check. It may have been the wrong one that was sent out. So let me just confirm that. Like I said, I have to dial into the remote server to pull that up.
Do we just want to table that? I don't know that that's a critical item until the next meeting, or do we want to go ahead and vote on it as was discussed, even though it's not been updated?
My suspicion is that they're using the form right now, so we should probably just concur with what they're doing, and maybe in the future we could like number the forms or date the forms so that we know which, so for integrity we can keep track of it. But
yeah, they are dated. There's a date on the last time it was revised. We may have just grabbed the wrong one. Laura should be able to pull it up pretty quickly. So if you want to move to the next item, I think we can come back to this one.
This is the last item.
It is the last item on the list, unless anybody else has any other new business.
I'm fine approving it, trusting that the changes that we discussed are made.
Okay. I heard, who was the second?
Beth.
Okay, thanks, Beth. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Opposed? So carried. Great, thank you. Do we have, that's the only, or the last item we had on the agenda. Does anybody else have anything else that we need to bring up or discuss? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thanks, Brian. In a sec.
Second.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Please stay safe.
You will.
And, you know, we almost spent a whole 2 hours, so I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody being here and participating, and God bless everybody.
Stay well, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.